In the autumn of 1347, 12 Genoese trading ships docked at the Sicilian port of Messina. The people who came to greet them found most of the sailors dead, and those still alive covered in strange black swellings oozing blood and pus. Sicilian authorities immediately ordered the ships out of harbor, but it was already too late. The Black Death had arrived in Europe. Over the next 4 years, it would kill somewhere between 30 and 60% of Europe's entire population, perhaps 25 to 50 million people. Nothing before or since has killed so large a fraction of humanity in so short a time. The plague had traveled the Silk Road, moving westward with Mongol trade caravans. In 1346, Mongol forces besieging the Crimean trading city of Kaffa catapulted plague-infected corpses over the city walls, possibly history's first instance of biological warfare. Genoese merchants fleeing Kaffa carried the disease back to their home ports. Yersinia pestis, the bacterium responsible, was carried by fleas living on black rats, which thrived on the grain ships crossing the Mediterranean. The bacterium could also spread through the air when plague victims coughed, creating the even more lethal pneumonic form of the disease that killed within days. Medieval medicine had no framework to understand or treat what was happening. Physicians believed in miasma theory, that disease spread through bad air, and recommended burning aromatic herbs, avoiding night air, and fleeing infected areas, which unfortunately helped spread the disease further. Bloodletting, purging, and applying dead animals to the swellings were common treatments that helped kill patients faster. The flagellants, groups of men who whipped themselves bloody in public processions, believed the plague was God's punishment and that self-mortification could appease divine wrath. They marched from town to town, unwittingly spreading the very disease they sought to escape. The social consequences were devastating and transformative. Communities collapsed. Priests fled rather than administer last rites. Entire villages were abandoned. In some regions, so many people died that the living couldn't bury the dead bodies piled in the streets, thrown into mass graves, or simply left where they fell. The Church's authority was severely damaged, its prayers and intercessions had done nothing. Jewish communities were accused of poisoning wells and were massacred across hundreds of European cities, a horrific scapegoating that reflected both medieval anti-Semitism and the desperate human need to find someone to blame for inexplicable catastrophe. The Black Death fundamentally altered European society's relationship with death itself. Before the plague, death was typically a communal, ritualized event. After it, death became omnipresent and random, striking the young and healthy as readily as the old and sick. The art of the period reflected this obsession. The Danse Macabre, or Dance of Death, depicted skeletal death leading people of all social classes to their graves, a reminder that no rank or wealth could protect anyone. This democratization of death subtly undermined the rigid medieval social hierarchy and may have contributed to the intellectual ferment that eventually produced the Renaissance. Perhaps the most counterintuitive consequence of the Black Death was an improvement in living standards for those who survived. With a third to half the population dead, labor became scarce. Peasants who had previously been bound to the land under serfdom suddenly had bargaining power. They could demand higher wages, better conditions, or simply move to where employers were desperate for workers. The old feudal order, already strained, began to crack. The plague's aftermath contributed to the Peasants' Revolt of 1381 in England and similar uprisings across Europe. Survivors also inherited the property of the dead, creating new concentrations of wealth among common people. The Black Death was catastrophic, but it also accidentally helped crack open a more mobile, less rigidly hierarchical world.